Hi guys, it's Mr. Wedge, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make a hardcover sketchbook. So we're going to need two pieces of cardboard that are the same size for the front and back cover, and I just cut these out of a box. And then a thin strip that's the same height as both of them, and that'll be for the spine of the sketchbook. And then you need another scrap piece, and it doesn't matter what size or shape this is. It's just you want flat edges because we're going to use this as a squeegee. You could also use like mom or dad's old credit card or something. You're also going to need some fabric for this. I'm going to use canvas because it's nice and strong and I like the texture, but you could get any kind of fabric. You could even use an old t-shirt or something. So the first thing we need to do is lay out our fabric and figure out how much of it we need, because we just want a little bit more than our sketchbook because we're going to fold it over. So I'm going to line everything up, and then I'm going to use a Sharpie to trace around it, and then I'll just trim it off with some scissors. I'm going to work on some scrap paper so I don't make a mess, and I'm going to be using wood glue. You could also use white glue for this, but I think wood glue is a little bit stronger. So I'm going to put some wood glue on one piece, and I'm going to spread it out so it's nice and flat. And I'm using my squeegee for this part. So glue first, and then once you squeegee the glue right to the ends and you filled up the whole surface, then you can stick it onto your fabric, and we're going to let this dry. And you can see I left little tiny spaces in between the spine and the covers. So once you have it glued down like this, nice and flat, we're just going to let that dry and we'll come back to it later. And it's also good to put something heavy on top of it so it'll dry flat. Just kind of squash it down. So I cut some paper that's the size that if I folded it in half, it'd be the same size as one of the covers, or just a little bit smaller. That's perfect. So I'm going to make a bunch of those. I folded my paper and I stacked it up in groups of 4, and I punched holes along the fold of each stack, and I used a tool called a screw punch. And if you stack up a bunch of folded papers for a book, that's called a signature. So I'm going to make a bunch of signatures. But before I do that, I'm going to finish my cover. So I'm going to put some glue along the top and the bottom edges of the cardboard, and I've got a squeegee. It's just a little rectangular piece of cardboard, just scraps, and spread that out. And then I'm going to fold my canvas over and try to get it nice and flat and stretched tight. I'm going to do that on the top and the bottom. Then I'm going to do the same thing along the sides. And then I'm going to sandwich my sketchbook cover between 2 sheets of wax paper, but you could use aluminum foil or scrap paper, whatever you have. And then I'm going to weigh it down with something heavy and flat, and just let that dry for about half an hour. I'm going to stack up 4 sheets of paper and make sure the holes all line up along the fold. And then I'm going to take a needle, and this is an upholstery needle, it's not very sharp, But I'm going to try to put some string through the eye of the needle, pull it through, and then on the other end I'm going to tie a few knots, and I want them all in the same spot. So I'm going to do 3 knots, and the reason I do 3 knots in the same spot is just to make the knot really, really big so it doesn't go through the hole when you pull the string through. So it doesn't matter where you start, but we're going to go in one hole and then over and then down through the other one. So if I start up through the bottom, I'm going to pull it all the way till that knot hits. And then I'm going to go down through the next hole and pull it tight. And then I'm going to go up through the next hole, pull it through until it's tight, and then down through the last hole. And you probably notice it makes a little pattern. It's like string, no string, string, you know. But we're going to go back the other way through the other side. So now I can skip over this gap where there's no string and go back through this hole, pull it through, and then I can skip over this gap, go through this hole, and then one more. I'm going to go past the knot I made through the hole, pull it tight, and you see there's string everywhere on both sides. And now I just need to tie a few knots really close to the last hole I went through. So I'm going to tie a knot and just hold it really close to the hole, pull it tight, and I'm going to do that 2 more times just like I did at the beginning. And then I'll just take some scissors, trim both ends, and that's a signature. It's all stitched together. That's how they make hardcover books. But I'm going to do a bunch of signatures like that. So I made 4 signatures, 4 sheets of paper each, and I'm going to stack them all up so that they're all going the same way. All the thread is the same. And then I can glue these into my cover. So all my signatures are made and my glue is dry on my cover. So now I can take my signatures, stack them all up, make sure they're nice and even. And I'm going to put lots of glue on the inside of the spine. I'm just using white glue. But I've got some binder clips that are going to fit there too. Alright, so I'm putting lots of glue on. And then I'll take my signatures, stack them all up, string sides together. I'll just line it up, press it down against the spine. Make sure it's all even. And then I'll put the binder clips on to hold it. And I'm going to let that dry overnight just to make sure it's really nice and strong. When your sketchbook is all dry, you can take the clips off. If you want, you could paint it. I'd use acrylic paint for this. And then you've got a hardcover sketchbook. And painting it with acrylic paint will make it last a little bit longer too, but you don't have to do that. If you like the canvas, then you can just leave it like that. But work hard and have fun.